Hey there, Paul here with your February Chicagoland housing market update. The market today is just massively different compared to even what we were seeing 2 to 3 months ago. I'm going to share some of the latest news headlines with you and do a deep dive into the data for what the market did in 2022 and what we can expect out of the Chicagoland housing market for 2023. And stick around because I'm also going to share what I think the best times to buy and sell are going to be in 2023. So let's go. So, Goldman Sachs expects a 2008-like crash in areas such as San Jose, California, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, and San Diego, California, where Goldman Sachs is expecting a boom and bust decline of more than 25%. Many expectations still exist for the housing market to fall further, but the Chicago housing market didn't run up the same way like many other markets did. And the expectation is that it'll likely be more resilient than many other markets, as pointed out in a recent Crain's article. So, a quick look at the statewide data from Illinois Realtors for 2022, we can see 160,844 homes sell, which is down 17% compared to 2021, and that's down 2.4% compared to what we were looking at 5 years ago in 2017. Looking at the median sales price for 2022 was at 260,000. Now that compares to 250,000 in 2021 and 195,000 5 years ago. So we see that price growth of $65,000 in the median sales price over 5 years. The average days in the market is 28 days in 2022. That's down from 33 days in 2021 and down from 55 days in 2017. So the average days on the market is down 49.1% compared to 5 years ago. The inventory, or the amount of homes for sale, was 20,671 in 2022. Compare that to 22,896 inventory of homes for sale in 2021, and compare that to 47,919, which is less than half of the amount of homes that were available on the market 5 years ago, down 56.9%. The amount of homes sold in Illinois is down significantly year over year at negative 36.4%, and home prices are down 2.1% year over year. That's the statewide level. Dialing that into the Chicago metro area, which is Cook County, so Chicago and the surrounding counties, we see the amount of homes sold is down 39.5%, while prices are up year over year by just 0.3%. And digging down further into the city of Chicago specifically, we see year over year amounts of homes sold down 41.2%, and the price declines of 8.1%. Now, again, this is year over year data, so December 2021 compared to December 2022. And if we think back to what the market was like in December 2021, we were still experiencing extremely low interest rates, and the rates went up in 2022. And in 2022, we were feeling the sting of rates at around 7%, which was where they peaked at roughly in October, and have been pulling back for the rest of 2022, where they ended up in the low sixes. Now, that 1% drop in mortgage interest rate has an impact of 11% on a buyer's principal and interest mortgage payment. So that's pretty big, 11% increase. For a lot of buyers, that could be the difference between being able to qualify for buying a home and not being able to qualify at all, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. And we're seeing buyers get used to the higher interest rates. With rates in the fives, they really aren't that abnormal from historical sense. Here's a visual on that with where we can see 5% was really the ceiling for rates over the past 10 years. But going back as recently as the first decade of the 2000s, seeing rates between 5.5% and 7% was normal at that time, even surpassing 8.5% in May of 2020. And looking at rates for the first week of 2023, we can see the US weekly average for rates at just over 6%. But that's a national number. I've had clients getting quotes in the mid fives from local lenders that I work with. If you haven't yet watched my video for the 2023 Chicagoland home market predictions, that's available on YouTube now, and it looks like this. So what are the current expectations for the Chicagoland market in 2023? Well, if we check out the housing price forecast for 2023 prepared for the Illinois Association of Realtors, the overall forecast is for prices to hold their own in the greater Chicagoland market. Median price forecast indicates for the greater Chicagoland area, we are going to see a 0.7% increase in January, a 0.2% increase in February, and a 0.3% increase in March. So overall, the forecast is for prices to increase year over year for January, February, and March of 2023. Here we see the annual percentage change for the Chicagoland median home sales price. The red we can see is forecasted data in this graph. So just know that that's what's expected to happen from when the graph was published. But you can see that everything here is positive for the Chicagoland area. And if we look at what their annual forecast looks like, we see that here, translating to a peak for the year in June of 2023 at $341,869. And that, in the greatest sense, really is just a marginal increase, marginally higher by a 0.5% than the peak we saw in 2022 of 340,000. So taking a deep dive into the month's supply of inventory, which is what we track to see how long it would take to sell through all the homes that are available at the rate that they're selling at. And looking at this for the Chicagoland, the greater Chicagoland area, we see that that number is at 1.5 months right now, which is at that pace that the homes are selling, it would take 1.5 months to sell through everything that is on the market. Realistically, anything that's less than a 5 or 6 months of inventory really does favor the sellers significantly. Whereas in the 5 to 6 months supply of inventory, we usually find that's more of a balanced market. Anything over that, we tend to see that it favors buyers more than it does sellers, which you can see in this much longer term graph, how it wasn't up until 2013 where when we switched over from a buyer's market to more of a balanced market, and then going more towards in favor of sellers. But the overall trend has been down. We really don't have much further to go, and we see this number finally increasing, which is a positive sign for buyers. So when is the best time to sell in the Chicago market? Well, solely looking from a pricing perspective, you can see that home prices peak in June, meaning those sellers accepted offers on their place most likely sometime in April and May. That makes sense with the rental cycle, since landlords try to avoid having a place available for rent in the fall and winter months. That also coincides with the school calendar year, since most people don't like displacing their kids mid-year. You can also see by the local data on the showing activity in the MLS that activity usually peaks mid-April, so long as you don't take into account 2020, which was the post-COVID reopening anomaly. So the best times to buy are likely going to be at the times when you're not competing with so many other buyers, and it's usually going to be the opposite of the best time to sell. And that's usually going to mean after the school year has started, going towards the end of the year. That's when anybody that's got their home on the market as a seller likely has more motivation to try to put a deal together. And if they don't, as you get towards Thanksgiving and towards the end of the year, those sellers usually tend to pull their homes off the market with the expectation that they'll probably relist in the spring. So best time to buy for a buyer is likely going to be after the school year starts and before the first of the following year. But for the most part, the second half of the year tends to be a better time to buy, and that's after prices have peaked already for the year. We usually see home prices pick up from the first of the year and go up and up through that April-May timeline, and then start pulling back as more and more sellers that haven't sold realize they'll likely need to adjust prices to be able to put a deal together before the following school year starts. Hopefully that gives you some good insights into what to expect in 2023 and what the market's doing now. I can tell you from what I'm seeing in the beginning of the year here, the market has picked back up compared to where we were in the fall of 2022. And we're seeing some properties that were on the market for a couple of months of 2022 going under contract now. And we're seeing some places that are coming to market receiving multiple offers. I mean, it's not what we saw in 2021 and 2022, where you'd list a place and maybe get 10 offers, but I've seen places get 2 or 3 offers in the first month of 2023 here, and inventory is still extremely low. If you're considering being a buyer in 2023, you definitely want to watch my video on the 7 things smart buyers are doing for 2023. You can find that on YouTube here. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below, and see you in my next video.